מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא אחסר, בנו דשא ירביצני, על מי מלוכות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות לא ירא, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי. דשנת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה, טוב וחסד, ירדפוני כל ימי חייך. כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אשת חיל מימצא ורחוק מפנים מכרם. ותכלה בת לב בעלה ושלל לא יחסר. גמלתו טוב לא רע כל ימי חייה. דורשף צמר ופשקים וטס בחפץ כפיהם. הייתה קוניות סוחר ממרחק תביא לחמה ותקום בעוד לילה ותיתן טרף לביתה וחוק בנערותיה. זממה שדה ותיקחהו מפרי כפיה נטע כרם. חוגרה בו זמותניה ותעמוד צרותיה, טעמה כי טוב שכרה לא יכבה בלילה נרם. ידיה שולחה בקישור וכפה תמכופה לך, כפה פרסלה אני וידיה שולחה לאביון. לא תירא לביתה משלה כי כל ביתה לבושנים, מרבדים עשתה לה, שש וארגמן לבושה. נולדה בשערים בעלה בשבטו עם זקני הארץ, סדין עשתה ותמכור וחגור נתנה לכנעני. עוז והדר לבושה ותשחק ליום האחרון, פיה פותחה בחוכמה. בתורת חסד על לשונה, צופיה הליכות ביתה ולחם עצלות לא תאכל. קמו בניה וישוע בעלה ויהללה, רבות בנות עשו חיל והטלית על כולנם. שקר החן והבל היופי, אישה יראת אדוני היא תתהלל. תנולה מפרי ידה ויהללוה בשערים מעשם. Today we have gathered for a very, very difficult moment as we bid farewell to Gishi Siegel, Gishi Bat Nachman V'Chayam. And before I share thoughts, I want to invite the family, first Rabbi Shale and her son, to share some thoughts, and then other members of the family as well.
Thank you. Coming to Chicago this past week wasn't at all difficult in the sense that this would be the last visit I would have. I thought there'd be many more. Because every time I visited my mom, I would always think after she passed her 90th, how is this ever going to end? She's like, her battery just never ceases. She just keeps on going. Not only keep on going emotionally, but with vigor, physically. Physical vigor and vim was beyond me, to the point where I was embarrassed to tell my mother that I had retired and moved to Florida while she was still holding a part-time job living in a colder climate. And so she passed at a very apt time. If she had to pass, this was a great time because of the parshiot that we're reading today, the creation story which continues over a period of weeks and even going into months, of how our world came into being. And it's our tradition that the creation was a creation from chaos to some kind of an order, and that we are enjoined at some point to follow in that creation, in that creating the order out of chaos, whether it's in our lives or in the world around us. And my mother, Gishi, was supreme at keeping chaos at bay. Her life's journey from the very beginning, starting a life never knowing her father, in the chaotic world of coming to America as an immigrant, without language skills and without social skills, and a mother who wasn't able to provide her with those things because she was too busy being a seamstress and feeding two other mouths. She made her way through the chaos and created a magnificent order out of her life and out of the lives of others. We're taught that the world that we live in is on a certain tilt, and there's a very delicate balance between the cosmic energies of whether it's the energy of creation, the energy of justice, or the energy of compassion. And that in order to keep this balance, the Lamed Vav Tzadikim have to operate as well. Who they are, we know not, but we do know that the Lamed Vavim, they cannot do the work alone. And so they enlist other Tzadikim who work with them through their years, and that's their purpose on this earth, is to serve and to help create the order out of chaos. My mother was not an activist. She wasn't out there shouting, looking for the recognition of an activist, but she very quietly made her contribution as a tzaddik, as a righteous woman, to make order out of a chaotic world, to make right out of wrong. At a very early age, I learned indirectly from my mother what it meant. When I was about 5 years old, my father, he should rest in peace, bought me, he thought was a great gift, 2 6-shooters for a Halloween present, so I can go out in a costume with my 2 6-shooters. And my mother, when she saw it, threw a fit and said, "You got to take it and return it. He can't have that." And I was going nuts because, what 5-year-old doesn't want 2 6-shooters in a holstered form? But yet my mother insisted that guns are violent. That was back then in 1952. Guns are violent, and my children can't have any part of a violent world. So what she had my father pick up for me was a Flash Gordon ray gun, a gun designed that when Flash Gordon went out into space, into the cosmos, creating order out of chaos, his ray gun would be there for protection and to help others. And so this is the world that I was raised in, with a mission, not to, in a humble sort of way, to do your bit, to do what's right. And my mother, every time I would ask her for advice, she would always end up saying to me, "Do what's right. Do what you think is right." My mom lived her life doing what was right, even when she was living on St. Louis, 1400 South, with my father and my bubby. And my bubby was her domain. My mother did what was right. She honored her mother-in-law, and she kept her mouth shut when at times she was really angry about how my mother-in-law was interfering in our upbringing. But yet my mother did what was right. She had respect for my bubby. And the same token, my mother had great respect for my wife, for her daughter-in-law, and she never interfered in our lives. She never was judgmental, and she never said a thing to me, even in private. If she had anything to criticize, it was never heard from anyone. She did the right thing always. So she was an amazing woman, the way she treated others. She had a tremendous poise, grace, and dignity. So I suppose my mother's working with the Lamed Vav Tzadikim has terminated. And so she is going back to her source. She had a remarkable life, a blessed one. I don't remember her ever being seriously sick. I don't remember her ever seriously being in chronic pain until the end, in the last year or two, when she had some sciatica. But beyond that, she didn't have any serious chronic illnesses. She had a blessed life. It was charmed in that sense. Charmed also in the sense that she had 3 wonderful children who went their way, but yet honored her all throughout. And so when she passed, the last couple of days, as she laid in bed, she had tremendous poise, grace, and the same dignity that she went through this world. It's the same dignity that she breathed her last breaths. Yeh zechra mevorechet. May my mother's spirit be a blessing to all of us.
It's not going to be our Gertrude Siegel, my mother-in-law. Your Yiddish name, Gisha, means in Hebrew approach. When I think about you and your approach to life and how much I have learned from you during the last 36 years, I feel very, very fortunate to have been part of your life. You were always a role model to me and to my daughters Neely and Tammy. From the moment I met you, I understood where my husband Shale came from. The strong family values, the perseverance, the wisdom, and the humility, always with a book and wanting to learn. You installed all these values in your beautiful children, Naomi, Gilda, and Shale. Gishi, you made me feel at home in Chicago for 21 years. You and Naomi celebrated all the Jewish holidays with us in Skokie and never once judged me or criticized me for not being punctilious about halachic details. You accepted me and loved me as I am. In Florida, during your winter visits to us, we walked many miles on the Hollywood boardwalk together. When you sat down to rest on a bench, we came back to pick you up. You were never alone. There was always a good-looking man sitting next to you and trying to strike up a conversation with you. Our friends were in awe of you. My parents both loved you so much. They were always sad to leave Chicago. Until 2 weeks ago, you never once forgot to ask me during our phone conversation, how is your mother doing in Haifa? Gisha, I will miss you so much, but I will remember you as a vibrant, strong woman who I could hardly keep up with when you walked. And I have still so much to learn from you. I love you.
Thank you all for coming here today. Thank you for honoring our Bubby. I'm Zach. I'm Bubby's grandson. I'm Naomi's son. And just a simple few words. I mean, this is not the way we want to say goodbye to people, but it's all we can do right now. And what I remember about Bubby is when people met Bubby, they fell in love with her. They fell in love with a very gentle kind of spirit, a lovely woman. They would come away with her saying that they felt good for having met her and having known her. She appreciated the very simple things in life. There was a lot for her to find happy, even when there was sadness around. I remember one time I was in her house and she was positively giddy because she had cooked a special treat she was going to eat. And I said, Bubby, what are you going to have? And she said, it's cabbage soup. And I remember thinking, we could probably do a lot better than cabbage soup these days. There's a lot better food, but Bubby had such a girlish smile and a twinkle in her eye, and she told me about how she used to love to have this cabbage soup that Bubby Chaike used to make for her, and now that she makes it, it brings a smile to her face. I remember shortly after having our daughter, Rowan, Bubby came over to see the baby, and I don't know if she was planning on it, but she sat down and she held the baby, and she just smiled and told me what a delight it was to just hold a newborn baby. It was a simple thing, and she just enjoyed it. But beyond that, there were so many of us that grew up with Bubby, whether it was her children or her grandchildren, and now her great-grandchildren. And I think all of us who knew her for more realized that there was so much more than just a simple, gentle loveliness. Bubby was strong. Bubby was a tower of strength for everybody. She didn't brag about it, like Shale said. She didn't brag about it. She didn't boast about it. She didn't need to be in the limelight, but she was the strength and the foundation for all the rest of us. And so I think going forward, I know that all of us, Bubby, will try to be nice and appreciate the simple things in life because that's what you'd want us to do. But I also know that it's her strength that deep down we'll carry with us inside. We love you, Bubby.
The family has spoken so beautifully. There's nothing that I can add except to ask Mechilim from Mrs. Siegel on behalf of all of us, that if we did something we shouldn't have done, we ask your mechilam. And if we did something and we didn't do something that we should have done, we ask your mechilam. You created a beautiful family. You had a beautiful life, a full life, a life that was both a life of arichut shanim, of many years, but also arichut yamim, of many meaningful and full days within each one of those years. Bila mavet lenetzach umacha Hashem Elokim dima me'al kol panim. Te'elish matatzura b'tzur ha'chayim. We recite the memorial prayer, the Kelmole, before we lower the casket. El malei rachamim shochen b'mrumim hamtzehem menucha nechona al kanfei hashchinam b'ma'alot kedoshim utorim kizor rakia mazirim et nishmat gishi bat nachman v'chaya shalcha li'olamam ba'avuhur shanu mitpalelim ba'ad azkarat nishmatam בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם, לחיינו בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור חיים את נשמתם. אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום ומשכבה ונאמר אמן. שיר למעלות, עשי אל ההרים מאין יבוא עזרים. עזרי מעם אדוני עושה שמיים וארץ. אל ייתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומריך, הנה לא ינום ולא ישן שומר ישראל. אדוני שומריך, אדוני צילך על יד ימינך, יומם השמש לא יכך וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך, אדוני ישמור את צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם. שיר המעלות ממעמקים קראתיך, אדוני, אדוני שמע וקולי, תהיינה אוזנך קשובות לכל תחנוני. אם עוונות תשמור יה, אדוני מי יעמוד, עמך סליחה למען תברם. קיוויתי אדוני קיוותה נפשי ולדברו הוכלתי. נפשי לאדוני משומרים לבוקר, שומרים לבוקר. יחל ישראל אל אדוני, הקים אדוני החסד והרבה מופדות, והוא יפדה את ישראל מכל עוונותיו. מזמור לדוד, אדוני מי יגור באוהלך, מי ישכון בהר קודשך, הולך תמים ופועל צדק ודובר אמת בלבבו, לא רגל על לשונו, לא עשה לרעהו רעה וחרפה, לא נשא על קרובו, נבזה בעיניו נמאס ואת יראי אדוני יכבד, ישבע להרע ולא ימיר, כספו לא נתן ונשך, ושוחד על נקי לא לקח, עושה אלה לא ימות לעולם. Because today is Rosh